Coming up in just a few seconds is the Orange and Blue Blood Thursday, where we drill down on things Gator and otherwise. And tonight we're going to do a little bit of a change up, talk about the big game on Monday night. Special interview with Frank Frangie coming up in just a moment, talking about a number of things, including the dramatic night, Monday Night Football, DeMar Hamlin, and what it was like when he saw it. He's a member of the NFL announcing crew for the Jaguars. And also the fact that while we're talking, we got some good news, and I think maybe you heard about it too. So stand by. We got Rebecca Martin Dubeck standing by. And on the program tonight, we'll have Ben Troop, who will talk to us about all things why I'm sure hates the Bulldogs. And we'll have a couple other guys who are Bulldog haters. And I'm going to tell you why maybe you ought to think about pulling for the SEC team, even though you hate it when I talk about that. But that's okay. We're allowed to have difference of opinion here. So stay tuned. Coming up right now. On Orange Blue Blood Thursday, the Buddy Martin Show. We're on the air. Tell your friends and neighbors we are here.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. It's called The Buddy Martin Show, and tonight's Orange and Blue Blood Thursdays. Glad to be with you on this final show of the week. We're going to talk a lot about upcoming events of the weekend. And, of course, the Monday game is certainly worthy of one. We waited all year for this. What's it going to be like? Been some good stories out there. I want to start this show tonight with some good news, and we could sure use it, right? Always hear good news. One of the things is that we just heard it via Twitter that former Arkansas running back Peyton Hillis apparently rescued his kids from drowning. Wow. Talk about drama. Can't imagine much more drama than that. Your own children drowning and you're able to rescue them. So we're glad they're asking for prayers on Twitter. So he apparently is in not good shape. Peyton Hillis is indicated to be in critical condition. Hopefully he's going to be okay. The critical condition is not a good place to be, but you can come out of it as we've seen. The other good news before we go to our commercial and hear from Frank Frangie, and then we got Ben Troop standing by, followed by France Beard and Lauren Meadows, full night of it, is that the press conference today at Cincinnati, talking about the remarkable, I don't want to say turnaround because he's not out of the woods yet, but certainly recovery and improvement of DeMar Hamlin, the linebacker from Buffalo who collapsed and died on the field. And the doctors who treated him at the press conference, they talked about what he said and asked when he woke up, as he did apparently last night. And they were not able to talk with him because he had a tube down his throat, but he was able to write out his questions. I thought it really interesting that one of the things he asked, did we win the game? Boy, oh boy, what a question to ask. You just have been dead, you wake up and you say, did we win the game? And one of the doctors said, yeah, you won the game of life. You won it twice. What a dramatic moment. And what a wonderful story. We could certainly use it. Certainly the Buffalo people could use it, the bad news they've had lately. So we'll talk to Frank Frangie about that in a minute as well. So let's get about their business of the night. Tell your friends and neighbors we're here. Dan Bond, got to hear from you. Gene McLean, also Jerry Vitaliano, welcome back. And Rebecca Martin, Terry Johnson. So we're going to do this. We're going to hear from our friends at Titan MRI, sponsor of tonight's program. And then we'll come back and we'll hear right away from Frank Frangie, who has a lot of things to talk about, including the Gators, and including the Red Hot Jaguars, and what his thoughts and prayers were after seeing the event unfold with Damar Hamlin, which is one of those stories that just haunts you if you happen to see it. I was on the air when it happened, and for Shane Matthews was describing, and I was getting texts from my daughter Rebecca and other people saying, "Did you see what happened? See what happened?" So, all right, let's hear from our friends and neighbors over at Titan, and come back and hear from Frank Frangie.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff Cardoza. And earlier we talked to Frank Frangie about what's going on, and here's what he had to say. Frank Frangie, of course, the voice of the Jaguars, but when we worked together, we covered the Gators primarily together. And I started thinking about you, Frank, this week, because there's so many Gators who are conflicted about this. You know, I have a cardinal rule. My rule is if you don't have a dog in a fight, we'll root for the dog, if that's what it is. And, of course, this is the SEC. So, first of all, good evening. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all those things out of the way. I guess we can still say them. And secondly, boy, what a game we got going here on Monday night, Frank.
Yeah, buddy, thanks for having me on. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you, and Happy New Year as well. Always love being on with you. It's a great game, and I think we're seeing today's dynasty. I think Georgia's today's dynasty. I think Georgia's going to roll TCU, by the way, but we'll see. But they're today's dynasty, and that's what they are. Kirby Smart has proved, the same way Nick Saban proved it before, that if you go get all the five-star guys and you get all the best players, it used to be you won with X's and O's, and maybe TCU's doing that a little bit with Sonny Dykes. But look, Georgia's got good players, man. I don't know that they're that much better than Alabama's players or Ohio State's players, but there's a handful of teams, buddy, that have the good players, and they're going to be in this thing every year. Now, it'll get interesting when it gets to 12 in a couple of years, because you could have some upsets like TCU. But Georgia's got great players. It's a dynasty, whether Gator fans like us like it or not. That's the reality.
Frank, there's this dichotomy which you have between Gators and Dogs, and you live right in the heart of it.
Yeah.
And you've balanced it quite well over the years. I mean, you were friends with Vince Dooley, and you had a lot of guys that were Dogs that you played, Buck Bellew and all those characters, whatever.
Yeah.
And you covered the whole SEC, and of course now you're in the NFL. But my question is, I had this discussion with lots of my listeners here about how do you balance the two. Some people say I would never root for the Bulldogs if they were the last team on the face of the earth. I hate them to death. And I understand that. But then there's also kind of the sportsmanship part. And I get criticized a lot for saying too many good things about the Bulldogs and Stetson Bennett and whoever. And so my question to you, how do you deal with that? And because I know you have critics who must say the same thing to you. And how do you balance that?
Well, as a media member, our job is to say what we think, and to not have what we think be clouded by who we root for. And you probably taught me that 30 years ago. So I as my mentor, which you've been for so many years. So I think our job as a member of the media, buddy, is to say what we really think and not have what we think, not have that opinion be clouded by the team we root for. Georgia's great. They're doing it the right way. They're doing it with toughness. They're out recruiting everybody. They're the best program. Whether people like that or not, regardless of where I went to school or where you went to school, they're the best program. And I have no problem saying that. And I think people that follow what I do and what we do up here understand that. And so now when the game starts, I'm going to root for TCU the same way the other day I rooted for Ohio State, and the same way I rooted for Georgia Tech and everybody else Georgia plays. That's the fun of being a fan. So the fun of being a fan doesn't change at all for me. I'm going to root for the other guy. Just like when Florida plays, the Georgia fans are going to root for the other guy too. That's the fun of it. But as a media member, you got to respect what they're doing. They're getting it right. It's interesting. I've covered both programs, as you know. Mm-hmm. I was a Georgia beat guy for the Times-Union when you and I worked together for a while. Mm-hmm. And the culture of the programs are so different. The culture of the program. the culture of the followings are so different. George is very Southern, very preppy, very, very Weegians and khakis. And Florida is way more Jimmy Buffett and
George,
tropical,
flip
right?
flops.
So the followings are very different. But Florida's had a great run, and now Georgia's having a great run, and it's hard not to respect it.
There's a quarterback up there named Stetson Bennett. As much as we'd like to think he's nothing like Tim Tebow, the fact is there is one similarity in terms of competitiveness. And what we saw, I talked to Lauren Smith about this, Tony Barnhart, others. What we saw is Stetson Bennett, and this is pure heresy, and I can feel Gator fans throwing things at me right now to even mention them in the same sentence. You've been around, you've seen this, you're seeing it with Joe Burrow, whatever. The great ones are such great competitors. When all the odds are stacked against them, that's when they come out. They shine. Tebow was the ultimate warrior. We know about his great speeches and whatever. Stetson Bennett now, if he closes a deal, will become the most famous Bulldog in history. And Hollywood will come calling, not because he's 240 pounds and runs over at people or whatever, or doesn't have a Braveheart face and, with red all over it. But what a competitor, and what he did is maybe a better story, forgive me, Gator fans, in Hollywood than what Tim Tebow did.
Well, it's a totally different story. Tebow was a 5-star recruit that was a celebrity when he was a sophomore in high school here in Jacksonville at Nice. He was a celebrity all through his recruitment. At the end, he chose Florida over Alabama in a really tough fight where he wasn't sure where to go. He was a Gator legacy. His parents went there. He was a Danny Werfel fan as a kid. I mean, we knew about Tim Tebow when he was 15 years old. Stetson Bennett is just an underdog, man. He's a guy that went there to walk on and didn't get to play, so he went to a junior college. And then he came back, and they kind of gave him a scholarship out of pity, probably. And they had a bunch of 5-stars stacked on the bench behind him. So the stories are totally different, buddy, entirely different. You're right. Stetson Bennett's more of a Rudy story.
Exactly.
Tim Tebow's more of a you knew it was going to be good all along story. But you're right. What they have in common is they're great college players, great competitors. Their will to win and ability to make plays at the end when all is lost. There's a toughness. There's a mental toughness to both those guys as players. And that's what the great ones have. Danny Werfel had it. Shane Matthews had it. There's a tough competitiveness. None of those guys went on to be great NFL players, although Shane played in the league a while. But there was a toughness and a competitiveness about those guys. And you better believe Stetson Bennett has that. That's why they're about to win. How many quarterbacks in history have 2 rings? And they were the quarterback for both teams.
Back to back.
Very, very few quarterbacks have 2 rings in the history of college football. And I think they're going to win. He's going to have 2 rings. It's pretty special stuff.
It really is. And so in the other part of this is we root for the stories, right? We root for the stories. They're best for us. We're best for our team. We're best. And so although certainly Tebow's our favorite story and Spurrier's our favorite coach and all the things, whatever, in terms of stories, there are 2 big ones. We mentioned one, Stetson Bennett and Kirby Smart doing what he did to win a national championship back-to-back. But there's another story out there that we won't forget about. We shouldn't forget about. And in honor of my late friend, Dan Jenkins, who bled purple, ultimate horned frog, who lived within a mile of the stadium and we moved from Ponte Vedra to Texas, who wrote many stories about Sammy Baugh and TCU going to the Rose Bowl, whatever. He's up there now watching, man, and what we were saying, what a great day for him and the Angels, to see his Horned Frogs playing the mighty Bulldogs for a national championship with a quarterback that we had barely heard of a year ago.
Well, and here's what makes the story so interesting. There's a lot of doubt, and I'm among those who doubt whether TCU could have gotten in there if they played a Big Ten or a SEC schedule. I doubt it. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know that they would have gotten there if they had to play LSU and Alabama and Tennessee and Florida and Georgia every week. I just don't know if they'd have gotten there. But that's the beauty of this. They didn't have to. But they lost their last game. They lost to Kansas State. I mean, Kansas State, who Alabama just beat by about 100 in a bowl game, beat this TCU team in the conference championship game. But because of a good season, they slipped in. And then they shocked the world beating Michigan. And they think they're going to shock the world again. So I mean, if they win, it's Villanova over Georgetown, man. That's how big this would be. But that's the beauty, and that's what we're really going to see when we get to the 12-teamer. We're going to see the one group of 5 team.
I love
we're going to
that.
see a bunch of Power 5 teams that don't look like they belong, and lo and behold, one may look up and play for the title, and that's what you got with TCU. So I don't know if they'd have been there if they'd have had the same rigors as everybody else. But that doesn't matter. They followed the rules. They played by the rules. They're in, and they're 1 game away.
For sure. Villanova, Georgetown. You just dated me. I was at that game, for crying out loud. So Frank, Sonny Dykes, could he be a referendum on what a first-year coach can do? And what does that do to our perception of a guy in Gainesville who I think is a pretty darn good coach and somebody who's got his work cut out now, because we know that the Gators got to get better. They got to get better.
Here's the reality of what Sonny Dykes did at TCU versus what Billy Napier did at Florida. And whether people like this or not, I'll tell you. Sonny Dykes didn't play Georgia and Tennessee and Florida State and Utah and all those teams Florida had to play. Kentucky was really good when they played them. I mean, they LSU. If Sonny Dykes in his first year played LSU and Georgia and Tennessee and Florida State and blah, 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 they wouldn't be in this game, just like Billy Napier's not in the game. And again, I think Sonny Dykes is a terrific coach, wonderful offensive coordinator. Comes from that air raid offense that Hal Mumme and Mike Leach created. He's really good, and he's a good leader, and he's a good culture setter. Sonny Dykes is a fantastic coach for TCU to get, and good thing because they had a fantastic coach in Gary Patterson, so they've done it very well. I have great respect for them. But don't compare what Billy Napier was up against to what Sonny Dykes was up against, because it's totally unfair. It's 2 entirely different jobs, entirely different set of opponents, entirely different circumstances. Now, in 3 years or 4 years, you can look back and say, okay, who did the best job? They both took the job at the same time, but there's no way you can say it now. Just not even. It's not
even if they beat Georgia.
What's that?
Not even if they beat Georgia.
You know what? That changes the conversation a little bit. I agree with you. Yeah, you know what? It's more of a conversation, but I still think there's a difference between 1 great game or even 2 great games and 3 months of playing those teams. Again, I have great respect for TCU, but I don't think what he had to do is the same as what Billy Napier had to do. I just don't believe. I don't believe that.
Frank Fangio, voice of the Jaguars. We saw something last week just rocked everybody. This week, it seems like last week, and the unbelievable response of the medics and people who may have saved the life of Damar Hamlin. We don't know. It still hangs in balance. Frank, I've been around and seen a few injured people. I saw Tebow get carted off in Lexington. It looked pretty grim for him at 1 year, but nothing like this. And it sort of stopped the world in a way that nothing ever has in the NFL. You covered the NFL. You've been around this stuff before. Where were you on Monday night when Damar Hamlin went down, and what was it like, and what do you recall about that evening?
Yeah, I was up like everybody else. I was home watching it on TV, and I was shocked. And when he went down, they went to commercial. I thought, okay, he's either got a concussion protocol or he's hurt his leg or whatever, a football injury. And then when the quiet started creeping in, and Joe Buck, who's so good, and Aikman weren't sure what to say and kept going to commercials, that's when I thought, my goodness, this is something serious. I'll tell you this. I talked to people. We had people on our air that were at the game. Everybody was in shock. Nobody knew what to do. I don't know anybody that had seen anything like this. My first thought watching it, buddy, was Keontae Johnson. I was watching that on TV too, on the same TV, sitting on the same couch. And I remember when Keontae Johnson collapsed against Florida State, the numbness I felt that day is the same as the numbness I felt Monday night when I saw it happen to Damar Hamlin. Just you're numb. What you're doing is you're hoping they're alive. You're hoping they have not lost their life, and you're hoping they make a full recovery. And obviously in the Keontae Johnson case, the story couldn't be happier. He's back. He's one of the best players in college basketball this year. His team's one of the best teams in college basketball. And so it had, for now, a happy ending. I hope Damar Hamlin's does. But to your question, I was numb, like I think everybody was, because I don't think anybody had ever seen anything like that before. But it was really bizarre.
Well, it was right there in front of us. And watching the faces of these young men, two things came to my mind. First of all, you said they've never been through something like that before. And just the possibility that he had expired because his heart did stop.
Yeah.
And there's a report that it stopped twice. One later on in the ambulance, whatever. And the shock on the faces of these players. Number one, that their teammate was vulnerable because they're very, very close. And Shane Matthews and I are talking about it. They spend more time in the facility with these guys than they do their families, so they're really close.
Yeah.
Number one, the shock, the vulnerability of the players and the teammate that was happening to them. And two, dealing with the possibility of death, which young people don't have to do. The horror of all that was on their faces and the way they were crying and bawling and praying. It was really, really a grim scene, and one that we hope we never have to see again. And I don't know about you, but I could tell just like you could. There's something bad wrong here, and we're not knowing it.
Yeah, and I can tell you, being around the Jaguars, I call the Jaguar games, as you know, and I've gotten pretty close to Doug Peterson, the coach here, who's fantastic, by the way. He said he's had to spend the week making sure his players are okay. They have a big game on Saturday against the Titans. They play for the division title. This city's on fire. How excited it is about this is a winner take all, win and end game for both teams. Yet Doug's got to make sure his guys are okay, and he has encouraged them, buddy. He said, "Listen, we've got team psychologists here. We've got leaders and coaches and staff here. Don't keep it in. If there's something that scares you about that, if there's something that has rattled you about that, if it's something you can't get through, let's talk about it. Let's get it out. Let's share." And that's been a big part of and I'm just talking to the Jaguars coach because I know him, but I've got to believe the other 31 coaches, well, all 32, Sean McVay as well. I think every coach in the league right now is having to do that. I think every coach in the league is having to make sure his players are okay. And I think everybody. I think every coach in the league has to deal with his players. Every player in the league has been given some pause through this. So yeah, it was a tragic time, and we just hope tomorrow's okay. I think that's what everybody's praying for every day.
The good news is we had a bulletin about this, and there's been quote unquote remarkable improvement the past 24 hours, which is a miracle in itself. The Damar Hamlin. And which is what University of Cincinnati Medical Center announced this. And so I hate to reduce this to some kind of athletic term, I don't mean that, but what a miracle comeback story And the city of Buffalo, with the stuff they've been through, with the shooting they went through with, the 30 people, as you know, were killed, the horrific snowstorm, and now this has been Buffalo, and Shane Matthews played there 2 years. He said you wouldn't believe how close the community is to the football team. None of them like college teams. So this is the comeback story of all comeback stories, and the prayers and the thoughts and all the things going on right now in pro football. This is good news.
Yeah, I agree with you, and hopefully he'll continue to improve. I think that's what we're all praying for.
Frank, will you come back and tell us about the Jaguars? We know they're going to be in the playoffs, and we're excited about that, too. We get people every night saying, get Frangie on, tell us about the Jaguars. All of a sudden, there's all these Jag fans popping up everywhere.
Yeah. And we're one game. I can tell you, this will be on Saturday night. This will be the most revved up regular season game in 20 years. It's sold out. It's been sold out. And it's not sold out because the opponent bought a lot of tickets. It's sold out with Jaguar fans and standing room only. There's pep rallies all over town. There's people. People get up Saturday morning. They'll tailgate from almost like a college game. They'll start tailgating at 10 or 11 for an 8 o'clock game. It is going to seem like, that stadium, I've been telling people that's going to be Florida, Georgia meets the Rolling Stones, meets Monster Jam. It's going to be just crazy down there, buddy. It really is. And so, this city's waited a long time for a night like that. We just got to make sure the night's not too big for them because they got to win the game. They win the game, they're in the playoffs.
They'll be okay, Frank. I'll leave you with these two personal notes. Number one, if I get lost, don't leave me stranded. That refers to a dream I have. I was telling Frank about earlier today. And secondly, you need to go out today and buy yourself a brand new pair of khakis to wear at that game, okay?
I will.
And not the Jim Harbaugh khakis now. They're really good khakis, okay?
Now that you said that, I'm going to tell the story. Whether we haven't told it to your viewers or not, I'll do it in 20 seconds. When I was very young, my wife and I visited Colorado, where Buddy was a star, and I was just trying to learn how to do this business. And we didn't have enough money for a hotel, so Buddy put us up in his home. And he and Joni were traveling, so we got to sleep in the master bedroom, which was a big deal to us in beautiful Colorado. and I looked at his closet, and there had to be 40 pairs of khakis, all pressed. They looked exactly the same. And I said, when I become a big-time media guy like Buddy Martin, I'm going to have 40 pair of khakis in my closet. That's the story. So there you go. It's all about the khakis.
It gets better every year, Frank. I love when you tell us that. Thank you. Listen, have a great weekend. Let's hope for the good news for everybody, and good luck to the Bulldogs. You know, the fans that we know, the good ones, the Tony Barnharts and Lawrence Smiths and Greg McGarity, those guys that we know because they are good people too. Frank, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. See you.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Meldon Law, we won't back down. Now it's time to get the star of the show on. I don't know if he was holding out for more money, decided he needed more votes. He said, I ain't coming on until after Francie's over. I ain't got time for that stuff, man. I'm a star. I can't be doing that. But he is a star. He's our friend, Ben Troop. Evening, Benjamin.
What's going on? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But if I was gonna hold out, it wouldn't be on the Buddy Martin. I'll be holding out for you and me. I'll be like,
good.
Man,
go on, do that. Let's do it.
Buddy said he want two of them things in his house to grow double the vegetables, so he can get double the hamburgers and things of that nature. But I mean, Happy New Year, man.
Yeah.
I hope you and the missus had a good holiday. Christmas and New Year's, but. No, man, we here, man. 2022, I don't know where it went. It seemed like it went by really, really fast, but here we are, 2023, and the Dogs are getting ready to go back to back. Oh, my goodness.
And by the way, I'm ready to get rid of 2022 now. I had enough of that. I had all I wanted of that in every facet of life, including health and rock and roll and Gator football and what have you, so I'm glad to be gone with that now. But I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad we're back, and I treasure our time together, and I treasure our show, and folks are glad to see you always as we are here, and the happiest of New Year to you and your family, Ben. Hope it's all going well. Dan Bond has a question for you. What's the news, Ben? See, they're out the bat. They hit you up. They know this. They know the story. What? I don't know what.
Hopefully. Obviously. Hamlin, the DB, the safety for Buffalo, they say he is making strides.
Yeah.
And, Monday night was one of those times, buddy, you know how we hear about the dangers of football or what could happen. And most of us have never seen it, obviously. But my hearts and prayers go out to him. I'm hoping that he has a healthy life. I know people are like, will he ever play football again? I think that's secondary. I hope that he has, I hope he regains full health. I'm praying for him. And hopefully, I think when in the NFL, you have to be at least 3 or 4 years in to be fully vested. He's only in year 2. I hope that if he can no longer play football, that the powers that be, I'm talking about the NFLPA, former NFLPA, that when the collectors bargaining agreement come up, that they make an exemption saying, look, man, you might have to take this thing to 2 years because football is precious, but hey, I am praying for him, his family, his mother, his siblings. So I'm wishing him nothing but the best. I mean, what happens to him definitely happens to all of us. The brotherhood that you hear about in the National Football League, it is real as it get. And I'm just praying for him. I know that football is a great game. Don't want to see it go anywhere, but it is temporary. It is a part of us, not all of us. And outside of that, buddy, I've been seeing Mr. Lagway. I've been seeing. I think Big D lineman for them All-American
Memphis.
One defensive MVP. And I will say this, people. 2022 was not what we wanted it to be as a team at the University of Florida. We get it 6-7 is not acceptable. However, I believe that Billy Napier, the same thing I said in 2022, my New Year's resolution is to continue to root for Billy. I believe in him, buddy. And like I said, I mean, I don't think that 2022 meant that he didn't understand what the assignment was. I just, certain games got away from us. So we'll see. Long ways before 2023. We got to get on that plane and head to Utah but I still believe in Billy Napier. I think we'll be just fine.
You may have to take that trip to Utah next year just to help them get through
I,
it.
I
Huh?
that's too. That just sounds too far to me. That just sounds like you get
No,
on the
man.
plane
It's just one of
and
them square
the pilot
states.
goes.
Just one of them square states out there.
We're gonna be cruising at 35,000 feet, 5 hours or whatever. But
No, that's California. Utah's probably only about 4.
okay.
For Denver's 4 or 4.25, whatever. But yeah, it's for sure. Yeah, we could talk a long time about that whole thing with DeMar Hamlin, but I'm gonna say this and move on because we got other things and people waiting in the orange and blue blood room to talk to you and France Beard and the whole team tonight. But I thought the most dramatic thing I heard on this whole subject, and it was full of drama, is that the doctors had a press conference today. They got this fine facility in Cincinnati there, and they did a fabulous job. And I heard read something today. Apparently, there was an assistant trainer on the team for Buffalo that did the resuscitation early on that saved him, that started the process, right there. They're highly trained, skilled. Anyway, these doctors were all these highly regarded cardiologists, and they acknowledged it was the team effort from the way they handled it from the field all the way through there. And they got him on. He had him awake last night, and they could only communicate through writing down what he thought.
Yeah.
And I thought the most dramatic thing I heard, and I think this is close to accurate, but it may be off a little bit. He said, "Did we win the game?" And he told him, "You won the game of life twice."
Absolutely. These doctors out, the trainer who rushed to his aid to give him CPR, the doctor who obviously was speaking to him. I think sometimes we forget how incredible the people on these staffs are. If that happens to Hamlin and he's at home, the time it takes for the ambulance to get there to him, who knows? So the quick, how fast we look at trainers as people who, go on the field when somebody gets hurt to get them up and get them off the field. We don't forget they know every preventative method to get these people to the hospital. So because it happened where it happened, it was hard to watch, but because that definitely saved his life because of where it happened at. But to everybody involved in Cincinnati, Sean McDermott, Zach Taylor, the head coaches, how they acted swiftly. Like, look, man, there was 0% chance we going back out here on this field. I mean, that's just devastating for everybody watching. They actually waited for Hamlin's mom to be able to go on the ambulance with him. And just an incredible story. I mean, I know his foundation has raised over like $7 million or something like that.
It's incredible how Buffalo people have said, not just them, all NFL people.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously got a chance to know him because he went to Pitt. He was the number one player in Pittsburgh, and in Pennsylvania, and he decided to stay in Pitt for his little brother. And obviously Mike Tomlin got a chance to know him because they played where the Steelers played. And sometimes, humanity comes out in different ways.
Yeah, good point.
I understand how brutal of a sport football is, but to see the emotion from around the league, on the field, and just onlookers, we just wish him nothing but the best, man. Our hearts and prayers go out to him. But like I said, buddy, you've been watching football a long time. I've been watching a long time. Let me say this. I hope to never see that again. I hope to never see that again because I've seen it all. I thought I saw it all on the football field. But to those trainers, to those doctors, to the medical staff, to everybody involved, kudos to y'all. Because without them, who knows? But he's obviously getting the best care possible. And they say he is showing to know that the first thing he wanted to know was, did we win the game?
That's a teammate right there.
It is.
Incidentally, that you've never seen that. Have you ever seen this? And this guy's going to join us. Have you ever seen the beloved Georgia Bulldogs that you guys love so much win back-to-back national championships? And I just want to get you two guys to weigh in on this because I know it's going to make your day and night on Monday if the Dogs win it and win a second straight national championship. Say good evening to France, and you guys commiserate.
Well, is it gymnastics? I mean, they've won 2 in a row in gymnastics before. we're talking football.
We're talking football. Yeah, we talking.
Could talk basketball if you want to, friends. That's not looking too good right now either.
Let me put it this way: they've never won one in basketball. They've only been to one Final Four. But they've never won one. They've never won 2 in a row in football. Let's see, from 1990 to 2010, they were 3-18 against the Gators. That wasn't too good. Let's see. Florida, in the meantime, has won about a bazillion national championships in every sport imaginable, and Georgia's won a couple in swimming and one in baseball, 1 or 2 in track, a bunch in gymnastics. I give them credit; they're a great gymnastics school.
Like I said, what's going to be like for you two Bulldog haters if the Bulldogs win back-to-back national championships, which is probably going to happen. Y'all going to have to lead the country, both of you.
Man,
no, won't have to leave the country. I mean, hey, buddy, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. I mean, my goodness.
Don't get me started there about what's happening in Washington right now. We don't need to go there with what's happening in Washington today when a dysfunctional Congress can't find a damn Speaker of the House. So don't get me started on that.
My point being, this is America. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I will say this: 40 years came to an end in 2021. Stetson Bennett sent shockwaves through the Georgia Bulldog Nation when he decided to come back. I mean, I understand that they're not the team they were in 2021, but they're just as good in 2022. It's not like they're unbeatable, even though they've beaten everybody they've played. The thing about Georgia is this: if Kirby Smart can do the unthinkable, right, and go back-to-back, good Lord, I'm never, ever going to hear the end of it. But I agree with what Fran said. It took a long time for Georgia to get to this point, and obviously you see what Kirby Smart has built in Athens. And I will say this: he won't win the Heisman. He's got 2 SEC championships. Stetson Bennett, outside of winning the Heisman, he is in the top 5 greatest stories, I think, in college football history. When you look at the fact that, I mean, he's never ever gonna look the part. And I'm talking about stature. He ain't gonna wow you with his physique and genetics. But his game, I mean, people talk so much about 5-star this and 5-star that. He's been around. Look, man, he's been
walk
around
on.
But I said this, and I hate being right when it comes to Georgia. I said Georgia's never going to win the national championship. The quarterback is going to be a person that grew up in Georgia, grew up wanting to be a Georgia Bulldog, and I'm going to stand by that. I didn't think it was going to be a dude named Stetson Bennett. I thought it was going to be David Green or DJ Shockley or Quincy Carter, not Stetson. But, I mean, Blackshear, Georgia, stand up, Pierce County, stand up. I just think that Kirby Smart built around Stetson, and Stetson knows, hey, man, don't wreck this Ferrari. And he ain't wrecked it. And we act as if Stetson ain't went through the ringer. He had to play Alabama at home and on the road his first couple of years playing at Georgia. And he finally got it right last year, and this year. So if they do win it, congratulations to the Bulldogs. I'm gonna have to deal with it. Never ever have to hear the end of it. But I saw something in the last 40 years. Georgia's been national champions. Georgia's on the list one time, and that was 2021. I hope to God TCU, I hope they went to church. I hope they paid their tithes. I hope they did all that, because I'm going to need TCU to come. Let me tell you something, though. It's not like TCU can't stay in it, but can they stay in it 4 quarters? Oh, my God. We'll see what happens. Because friends, let me tell you something. You already know. If Tuesday morning Georgia lost to TCU, they're going to hate me. Woo! They are going to hate me, because I'm talking trash regardless, but, it just wasn't.
Well, here's what I got to say about Georgia winning 2 national championships. It's entirely possible. It is entirely possible that the TCU Horny Toads are going to beat them too. Very, very possible.
Biggest point
saying,
spread, no difference in the history of the game, 13.
Yeah, well, guess what? People can say what they want to say, but there's no guarantee of anything. TCU wasn't even ranked at the beginning of the year, and they were 4-8 last year. So let's just say that there's a real good chance that they're going to continue to defy the odds. I'm not saying guarantee it, because they certainly can't guarantee it. But is it possible? Sure, it is. I don't think that I do not believe that George, after watching them against Ohio State, I know for a fact they are not totally invincible. They can be thrown upon. You can throw the football on. Heck, we tend to forget LSU threw for 550 yards on them. Think about that for a second.
I read a stat today, Franz, that supports what you said. They're 80th in the country defending against 15-yard passes. 80th.
And TCU has got some people who can. They have some people who can flat out
defend,
throw, and catch the ball.
Oh yeah.
I look for this to be a complete and total shootout.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Georgia has give them credit. They've done what they needed to do so far. But can they do it again?
Good question.
I don't know.
All right, we're going to defer this to, I'm going to give you till Monday night. I'm going to call you, Ben, and get your prediction on the early show, like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and we're going to make our picks then. Because things can happen. I mean, players can step off the bus and twist their ankle. It's too early to tell yet. So you hang tight. France will do our usually Monday night thing a little early instead of waiting for it. The game's what time? 9 o'clock? Whatever it is. We'll do like a 7 o'clock show, and we'll put our stuff down. Meanwhile, I have 3 questions for you guys, and I think Lauren's going to join us. Here's 3 questions, okay? Number 1, what in the world has happened at College Station? Bobby Petrino is the offensive coordinator for Jimbo Fisher. That's one. Secondly, do the people out in California, they never heard of tailgating? This is this whole thing with in SoFi Stadium. Somebody tweeting today says they should. How could SoFi be so effed up? With not allowing tailgating. And the Bulldog fans wouldn't know what to do with that. And finally, how many Cheez-Its bowls are there? I kept turning around there. Every time I turn another Cheez-It bowl, how did they get to either be the main sponsor of the bowl season? One at a time, Bobby Petrino. France?
Well, Matt Hayes says this is an absolute disaster. I think it's a marriage that can last for a year. I think it's one of these ones that we could wind up with a divorce after 1 year. I think it could be one of these cases where you wind up with 2 coaches who absolutely despise each other. And Jimbo has been known to carry grudges for quite a while. I think this is a case where I think he's desperate. I hate to say it, but I think that Jimbo Fisher realizes that only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. They're going to give him this chance to make good on that great recruiting class that he had. But if he does not do it, guess what? They're going to get rid of him, and he is as good as gone. This is not a case of picking this guy because Jimbo says, well, I'm a great head coach, but boy, if I had somebody who's really good calling the plays, we would be double dynamite.
Yeah.
This is a case of Jimbo Fisher saying, if I don't do something in a hurry, my butt is going to be living large on about $75 million for the rest of my life.
Yeah, Ben, I think there's truth to the fact there had to be some pressure there brought to make that change after he'd already gone to UNLV, and then he comes back, and we'll bring in Lauren Meadows here to participate in those questions. First being, what in the world was happening in College Station with the hiring of Bobby Petrino. And so, Ben, if you address that, we'll bring in Lauren to join the conversation.
I blame Texas A&M. I mean, didn't Jimbo come out and say if they don't like me making that decision, give me my buyout and just let me go? I mean, it's a level of cronyism and tone deafness like you've never seen. I mean, Jimbo Fisher knows. I think he might have the biggest buyout in college football. It's up there. He got one of them.
$85 million left, I think.
And the thing, like I said, I don't know if Jimbo Fisher is a great coach. I know he had a great year at Florida State in 2013. I know he had that. And I mean, I give him that. But great coach, I don't know. Because everybody was thinking, oh man, he could have do what he did in LA. I mean, Florida State out there in out there in College Station. You won 5 games. I don't care what you got. You got to win more than 5 games. And now you get Petrino. I agree with you, friends. What the hell he find Petrino at? Like, where did he find him at? So, I don't know.
UNLV, he was the offensive coordinator, just took the job a couple of weeks ago.
I guess, I think we talk about a guy like Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher is kind of turning into like a Kardashian, man. He like to make headlines. He really is. He do stuff to get us to talk about him, right? And I think
Jimbo Kardashian, I like that. That's got a good ring to it.
I mean, since the whole first he guaranteed to beat Alabama, check. Then, people buying players. He don't like that. Then he fired the guy who said that to the player. Oh, he's new. He's new on the staff. Now he got Petrino. Yeah. Let me tell you, I'm telling y'all, man, at the end of the day, if John Gruden become an assistant coach at Texas A&M, I'm going to lose my freaking mind, man. I don't know what's going on at College Station.
All right. We'll bring Lauren in to address that real quick. Then we'll go to number 2 question. We'll go in reverse order. No tailgating in California and at the SoFi. I mean, my gosh, Bulldog fans won't know what to do. They'll be taking the McDonald's bags to their cars and eating out of the back or whatever. Welcome in, Lauren Meadows. Lauren, nice to talk to you again. And you can put your 2 cents worth in there on Bobby Petrino if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's one of those things where I'm sure he was given an ultimatum. It's like, get this offense going, change it up a little bit, or it's time to roll, and I think it's one of those things where, they got plenty of money to find that buyout. So it's pretty much, you bring in Petrino, you see if it works, you let him kind of handle things, with the installations and play calling and those kind of things and see what happens. I mean, obviously it was going to be somebody that Fisher obviously, at least respected from the standpoint of being able to, call plays and installs and different things like that. It'll be interesting to see, kind of like, with Jim Harbaugh with Josh Gaddis a year ago, you could be offensive coordinator in name, or he could actually give you the keys to the kingdom. So, it'd be interesting to see. Dynamic. 2 headstrong guys with a lot of
too many cooks in the kitchen, maybe, Lauren. You never know, right? Yeah. Could be. Friends, real quick, give us your take on the no tailgating at SoFi Stadium. How that became a shock. I see the governor Georgia came out today and bashed him, and I think Ron DeSantis sent a note: bring the game to Florida. We allow it down here. What's your take on all that cultural fiasco, friends?
Well, I would be willing to bet you this is the last time SoFi Stadium will ever host a college event that of any consequence. I guarantee you Greg Sankey is going to have his say in this. And Greg Sankey, lest we forget, is the single most powerful man in all of college sports. And if Greg Sankey doesn't like what's going on, then they can forget that they're ever going to have another event at SoFi Stadium. People aren't happy that they've held the game in San Francisco. They didn't like that because
that hotbed of college football, San Francisco, California. Boy,
it was cold and crappy, and quite frankly, they're not great college. It's not a college football place. It really isn't. And for all practical purposes, You get outside the LA Coliseum, and I mean, forget the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl is once a year. They have a game there. UCLA plays there the rest of the year to 20,000 people. The college football in the state of California is played in the LA Memorial Coliseum. If you don't want to play the game there, then forget playing it there in the state of California.
Yeah.
You know, play the game in places. This is my big beef with the college football playoff anyway. Why are we holding it in these pro stadiums? Why don't we hold it in college football stadiums?
Yeah.
Because this is what it is about.
Yeah.
It is about college football.
All right, Ben, do you agree with that, Ben?
I do agree with that. I think what I don't like is when you talk about making these decisions, you're trying to give these new stadiums that have no tradition. I don't care what the Rams did a year ago. Yeah, you play college football in college stadiums, or you play them in NFL stadiums that welcome college teams. Like that's simple. Like, I mean, and I don't like the timing of it. You wait until the game is getting ready to play to say no tailgating. No, don't punish college. Don't punish college. College lovers, because so far they don't do this for like pro games. When you got the Rams and the Chargers, man, like come on, like, are we serious? Like, and I think that I agree with you, friends. Why do you try to force the issue? This is why the college football playoff is going to be real hard to get games out there on the West Coast now because of nonsense like this. So I do agree. It's one game. It is one game, and you won't do the biggest game in college football. No tailgating. I don't like when people try to flex their muscle for no apparent reason. Like, you doing this for what? It don't even make no sense. So I just imagine if you are a TCU fan, something this prestigious for your school, to be told, oh man, sorry, no tailgating. I don't think they should be allowed to do that kind of stuff. But when you make Greg Sankey mad, one of the most even-keeled, mild-mannered dudes there is, oh, trust me, you don't got to worry about this no more. This ain't finna happen ever again. I agree with you, friends. It's nonsense. I mean, what? Because SoFi Stadium is so tradition rich. Oh, my God. Man, get out of here with that nonsense.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I had on my show this week, I had Alan Taylor. He brought up a good topic, which is where the second round games play. First round buys, and then you got those 5 games, whatever it is, and then you go to the second round, and those games may go to campuses. If that's the case, then the campuses got to have a little say in this. I would think a little, right? If the games are being played there. At first, I wasn't sure if that was a good move or not. That would be better for the games, but there's something about having the right stadiums, and you owe the bowls a little bit for what they've done, but the more I think about it, maybe that's the answer, to have the second round of games in campus, and then the final round we played in the bowls, whatever. There's a lot of things to be decided there. All right, so here's the big question, the one that we're going to send an investigative team out led by Lauren to find out this. How did the Cheez-It Bowls get so many sponsorships? Every time I turn around, another damn Cheez-It Bowl.
Hey man, that's the grab that everybody we in a grab and go society, man. Jesus is their stuff, man. I said the guy I was sitting next to, I said, man, I'm more like a goldfish guy. He said, nah,
me
man,
too. Give me the goldfish,
extra toasty. Cheez-It extra toasty is the way to go. So I think, you look at Cheez-It. In the last 20 years, they got everything: nacho flavor, sour cream.
Oh, listen to Lauren. Oh my gosh,
man. So I think that's just you look and I'm gonna tell you, Cheez-It. If you look at it, you think about it, they've really aligned themselves from a marketing standpoint with college football. With the Kirk Herbstreit commercials and different things like that.
Got that damn Cheez-Its that talk. They got those crackers that talk, for crying out loud.
And they had those sitting in the end zone too. Actually, the different characters. I just think that money talks, and if they're willing to pour money into it, and it was obviously they did well by getting Florida and Florida State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma showed up and kept butts in the seats for the whole game, and I'm not sure what happened. In the quote-unquote Citrus Bowl. I didn't really pay much attention, but I know they had a really good crowd for Florida State. Oklahoma, which was perfect for them.
You were there for that game too,
yeah.
so you would know.
And they even had a walking taco with Cheez-Its in it. So they really
all I know is this. You know, until Dr. Pepper brings back Larry Culpepper,
yeah, my man,
with their commercials, I will not watch. I mean, I don't even want to watch Dr. Pepper. I don't even want to drink Dr. Pepper, because if they fired Larry Culpepper, then you know we have gone overboard. I mean, one of the great commercials of all time was when Spurrier hands Larry Culpepper a visor, and Larry Culpepper almost went cataclysmic. I mean, that was it.
I got to tell you, one of the best commercials I've seen in a long time is Spurrier and Tebow in that car. Now, that's a funny commercial. That is really funny. By the way, Cheetos, I was about to say whatever happened to Cheetos. Larry Gross says did they even make Cheetos anymore? I didn't know they made them.
Yeah, they make Cheetos.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, Flaming Hot Cheetos. That's the snack of youngsters. Anybody 5 to 12, they love them Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
Hey, friends.
And whatever them other ones is, they like blue. My kids always eat the little nasty little chips, the little blue ones.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what they called.
I don't know what those are,
Takis.
but friends.
Oh my God! Every time we go in the store, I have to yell out, "No Takis!" And all of them like, really? Yes. And y'all look like y'all doing the little hot chip challenge. The whole mouth be blue. I can't be walking in the store if y'all got blue mouths, man. I ain't got time for that.
Friends, they talk about food. It'd be hard to beat. I hate to see the Outback Bowl go, because even if blue and onion for breakfast and whatever, walk and get those big steaks at the Outback Bowl. Remember that, friends? How we used to chow down?
Oh gosh, they had the best pregame meal going, and you know, goodness. Of course, that was back in the day when they actually treated media like
they wanted them. They actually wanted them there.
We were like they wanted us to be there. I got to throw this at you guys, and we have a ridiculous situation, and that is that ESPN controls the bowls, and I'm sorry, but we have no competition. And because of that, this is why ESPN, they set the time for all the ball games. They set this, they set that.
Of course, they've been doing that for years.
You can't. Nobody can come on the field to interview somebody because ESPN says we can't.
Yep. It's the ESPN world. We're just in it. We just, stay on
Nobody
everything.
can do anything ESPN says they can't.
Yeah, that's certainly part of what's. Well, friends, it's nobody cares anymore, so we got to live with it. So that's how it is. So, what was your favorite story of the week, everybody?
It's like the Zebras last night for the Gators. They suck.
Okay, we're going to go on the Zebras rant. I can tell that's coming, and that's coming soon to a neighborhood near you. He's ready. He's primed. I talked to him there earlier. Look out!
That's
out
my
there.
guy right there.
Look out! He's coming.
They can get feedback. I mean. I listen. I want to put in for referees' press conferences. Yes, I want the referees to have to do a press conference to say what the hell was going on in quarter number 1, quarter number 2. You went and looked at the film. Are you not looking at it? Do you need these? Do you want them? 'Cause I'm trying to understand. They should get to do press conferences.
I told people yesterday when I saw that Brian Dorsey is one of the 3 zebras, one of the 3 blind mice that was calling that ball game. I made a comment. I said, Florida will not win this ball game. Brian Dorsey is calling the ball game, and he should not be allowed to call a CYO game between the 5th grade schools at St. somewhere else in St. Helena or wherever it is. I promise you, he is that incompetent. Other than that, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell you. I know nothing. All right, so there's time for that. We'll talk to our friend Mike McGinnis. I'm gonna get him on there that you guys grill him. Yeah, he's one of the good ones. He's doing a little Q&A for us now in Gatorbait, which, by the way, will be out tonight sometime as soon as Franz gets his article in. We're ready to go with it. So it's good stories, and we got a couple of rants on that. Our friend Carlton Reese is going off with the Bulldogs, so you guys will love it. All right, so in our final minute here, favorite story of the week. Anybody got one? I'll give you mine. I've used it 5 or 6 times. listeners are probably tired of this story by now, but I still love it because it's so random and it so brings out the personality of the guy that we like to think is a good coach and a really good guy. And we'll all personally agree, probably didn't get the just due, but he hasn't earned it. This story right here. This guy was went to the facility last Tuesday night, and he looked at the football facility, and somebody walked up by him and said, "You like to go inside?" He said, "Yeah, I would." So the guy took him inside, and the guy behind him took him inside. Billy took this guy, and the son of this guy wrote this tweet out, and this guy got to go on a personal tour from Billy Napier. You think he's happy? I think Napier's pretty happy. Look at that smile on Napier's face. You know? That was a really good story, and one I think resonated with the fans, and the kind of thing we love hearing about. That's my favorite story. Anybody else got a favorite story?
Two-lane highway, 42. Southern California. Was it 42, 41, or was no? It was
45, 44.
45.
Yeah.
46, 45.
Two-lane highway. I like that.
Two-lane highway beat the University of Southern California and the boy genius Lincoln Riley, and the greatest thing since the invention of crushed ice and jock straps, Caleb Williams. And I got to tell you what, Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. I mean, he really is a good quarterback. But he got outplayed by that kid from Tulane. Michael Pratt made the plays when they had to have him, and you look at that gutsy fourth down run that he made. I mean, he makes fourth down by diving and gets it by about 16 inches. What a play that was, and a kid from West Palm Beach that everybody in the world said wasn't good enough to play here in the state of Florida. I can think of about 4 teams in the state of Florida he could have been the quarterback for this year.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Ben? You got one?
Mine's easy. See, when it comes to college football, right, you always got certain people, right, that need to be humble because they always got something to say, right? Mm-hmm. There was this team from Clemson that played this team from Tennessee, right? They had a lot to say. They had a lot to say, didn't they? We're the real Orange. We're the team. First they said they don't worry about what goes on in Columbia. Remember how that game ended up? Then they said we don't worry about what goes on in Knoxville. They had a good year. How that game end up? All I'm gonna say is this: Dabo got a shot to go. Dabo, I know we're gonna go to 12 teams. They're gonna make it back in. But this is the same Dabo that said when you go to NIL, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm not doing college football. Lie about that. All I'm saying is this: He said our NIL is in the name of the Lord. No, y'all giving out money out there. Shout out to them Vols for taking care of them boys from Clemson. Because I'm telling you, I got more Clemson people be talking trash to me. I'll be like, they're like, Ben, you wish you went to Clemson. Like, please, have several seats. But a close 1B. My daughter started flag football today. She's not playing real football. We've had that conversation. That's not happening.
Not yet. Not yet.
No. It ain't happening. Listen, if she's listening, it ain't happening.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
I had to give her some pointers. Gave her some pointers over the weekend, right? So she had her first day today. And all I know is she's the only girl on the team. She out there looking good. She out there telling me.
Here comes the high school. Here comes the high school coach saying, Ben, we got to have her playing for us.
I'm biased, but at the end of the day, the coach's kid is the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But he had to cover my kid in one-on-ones. And all I'm saying is his confidence got a little shaky.
Oh, my goodness.
All I'm saying.
Dropped him out.
Yeah, I think I see something emerging here. I'm putting the money on the daughter. I'm thinking she's going to be playing football. I'm just saying, I've raised you. I know.
No.
I hear what you say.
I'm not that dad that be yelling and screaming. All I'm saying is when the dad's son walked up and he said, "Give me Troop," and she come up and look at him, she kind of looked at me. I was like, "You know what we do. Go ahead." No.
He's not proud. He's not proud at all of that, I can tell. He ain't proud of that. No.
Listen, with my child, if there was a waiver that she could sign me away so she can play football with
She
the
would.
boys. She would do it. She
And
wanna
she
play
might.
it.
She
No,
still
no, no, no,
might.
no, 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 no.
All
Because
right.
Lauren, you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna be hitting my kid for no reason, and then I got to go to jail for fighting the kid.
No,
Oh yeah,
man.
you better just stay away.
You won't be allowed to go to the games. You won't be allowed to go. They'll
just
keep
stay
you
away.
out.
Yeah.
Lauren, if you see my kid play and somebody knock her out, I got your bail money. I'm just telling you right now. Get at them.
All right, and finally, what's your favorite story, Lauren?
I
Of
think,
the week.
it's not necessarily a story, but you've kind of led on. I think based on the bowl games that we saw, I think the excitement for the 12-team playoff in the next year or so is going to be immense. And where everybody kind of thinks that we're going to see a ton of blowouts and things like that, I'm not so sure about that. I think we're going to see a lot more, parity than people think. You still may end up with the best 2 to 4 teams at the end, but that's what you get anyway. But I think we're going to see some entertaining, what they might call quarterfinal or semifinal games. But I think if the bowl games proved anything, if all the kids buy in and commit, I think we're going to see some entertaining football when this 12-team playoff comes about.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave you with this thought tonight. First of all, happy, sad news. I don't know if you guys heard about it. The running back, Peyton Hillis, he's in critical condition after rescuing his children from drowning. And thoughts and prayers to him. And man, it seems like every day there's some other crisis. And we certainly keep our prayers for Peyton Hillis. And imagine the drama of rescuing your own children from drowning, what that must be like. And of course, we're grateful for the good news about what happened to Damar Hamlin. So good. All good. Guys, great job tonight. Good to be back with you. If you're available on Monday night, we're doing an early edition for picks on the game. It'll be a short version to get ready. I won't ask you for it tonight, so come back Monday. Thank you very much for being on the program. Good to have you back. Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, folks, we'll wrap this up. Thanks to the whole crew there. We'll give Franz his freedom and let him get out of here and go do what he's got to do, which is hopefully right. And we'll get that going. And then, night, Franz. All right, so, get those name lines off of there. Takes a minute. So, so have a good night. Thanks to our guest tonight. I want to be sure and tell you about our friends over at the Renstar Medical Research, who support this program and support our community. They are a first-rate medical facility there, and they do wonderful work. Their proven reputation is a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility, bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect our community. You can go online and check out some of the clinical trials. You might want to take part in them. You go to renstar.net and check it out. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to our sponsors. We're done for the week. We'll be back with another show, the final show on before the national championship game Monday night. Don't forget, it'll be an early edition because the game will be going on during the regular time, and so we'll be doing that. So have a good night, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.